The story begins on a small passenger plane heading to America. A passenger notices that their flight path has been altered, and the flight attendant explains that bad weather forced the pilot to detour over the dense Amazon rainforest. Since there are only 8 passengers on board, no one questions it further. However, the plane suddenly begins to shake violently. The pilot realizes the GPS has failed, and the control panel is unresponsive. Unable to contact base via radio, the pilot, who seems to suspect something suspicious, records a final video message on his phone as he attempts a crash landing. The plane scrapes through the trees and crashes into the jungle floor. All 8 passengers survive, but the flight attendant, who wasn't wearing a seatbelt, dies instantly. Panicked, 2 passengers rush to the cockpit and find the pilot impaled through the chest by a thick tree branch, though still alive. Suddenly, a fire breaks out near the wreckage, and everyone rushes to put it out to preserve the plane as a shelter. Once the fire is extinguished, the survivors sit down to assess their situation. They realize they are stranded deep inside the Amazon with no phone signal, no satellite phone, and no way to walk out. Since no one knows their altered route, a rescue team isn't coming anytime soon. To coordinate their survival, the passengers introduce themselves. Jack is an insurance investigator working on fraud cases. Dr. Kevin is a physician who now sells medical equipment. He points out that the pilot has a severe throat injury and cannot speak, but saving him is essential since he is the only one who can fly them out. Christy claims to be a travel vlogger, though she stays secretive about her past. Carlos is a professional wrestler from Mexico heading to a tournament. Then there is a newlywed couple, Danny and Amy, and an older couple, David and Lisa, who run a hotel in America and are traveling for David's heart surgery. Jack suggests rationing the remaining food and water, which will only last 3 days. They move the attendant's body outside to make space inside the cabin. When Jack asks the injured pilot if there is a satellite phone or why the plane crashed despite good weather, the pilot desperately tries to speak as if holding a massive secret, but can't. As his condition deteriorates, Dr. Kevin performs emergency surgery using a kitchen knife and alcohol. The operation goes surprisingly well, offering hope that the pilot will recover by morning. However, during the night, a masked figure sneaks into the plane, smothers the pilot, and kills him. The next morning, the survivors are shocked to find the pilot dead. Dr. Kevin confirms there was no infection. Lisa, a former nurse, privately tells her husband David that the pilot's blackened face proves he was suffocated, meaning one of the passengers is a killer. She warns him to trust no one, unaware that someone is secretly listening to their conversation. Meanwhile, Danny steals the pilot's phone from the corpse and cuts off his finger to unlock it via fingerprint. His wife Amy catches him, but he swears her to secrecy. Christy notices something suspicious about Amy and gets her to confess the truth. Amy is the daughter of a wealthy businessman, and Danny was her driver. They were running away together. Meanwhile, Carlos finds a damaged GPS device in the wreckage and promises he can repair it. But soon, Lisa reveals another crisis. All 3 days of food supplies have been stolen overnight. Investigating the theft, Christy reveals her real identity to Jack. She is an investigative crime reporter who uncovers criminal syndicates. With no food left, Carlos stays behind to fix the GPS while the rest venture into the jungle. Christy spots bright blue mushrooms and warns everyone that they are extremely toxic. They find a muddy pond nearby and filter the water to make it drinkable. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out. David and Lisa use a hidden gun to shoot a monkey for dinner. That night, David suddenly falls violently ill, foaming at the mouth, and dies in agony. From the shadows, a masked figure watches and uses a hidden satellite phone to call a mysterious contact, reporting that the plan is progressing smoothly. The next morning, a heartbroken Lisa angrily accuses the group, explaining that David was poisoned with the toxic mushrooms because he knew the pilot was murdered. She realizes the killer overheard her private conversation with David. Panic spreads as everyone realizes a killer is hunting them down. Danny then shows everyone the video he retrieved from the pilot's unlocked phone. In the recording, the pilot himself reveals a shocking truth. A dangerous secret is hidden aboard the aircraft, and the plane was deliberately crashed into the jungle. The survivors watch in horror as they realize the crash was no accident, but a calculated murder mystery, and the killer is standing right among them. Carlos then announces he's finally repaired the GPS device, and it just needs to be carried to the mountaintop. But with trust shattered, deciding who goes and who stays becomes a tense argument. Jack volunteers to stay and guard the camp, while Carlos, Kevin, and Christy head up the mountain, reasoning that if any of the 3 turns out to be the killer, the other 2 can handle him. While climbing, Carlos casually chews gum, and Christy notices the wrapper matches the stolen rations from the night before, meaning Carlos is the one who stole the food, making him a strong suspect. She says nothing but keeps a close watch on him, especially since he's carrying the GPS device. She quietly takes it from him herself to be safe. After a grueling climb, they near the peak, but Christy slips and nearly falls into a ravine, with the GPS device tumbling toward the edge too. Knowing their survival depends on that device, she grabs it first, dangling precariously, before Carlos and Kevin pull both her and the device to safety. The near-death experience forges a strong bond between the three, proving none of them is the killer, since any one of them could easily have let the others fall. Carlos gets the device powered on, and though Kevin's phone still shows no signal, they're confident the GPS will bring rescue soon. As the sun begins to set, the three head back down to camp. Back at camp, paranoia has taken over. Lisa points her gun at Jack, warning him to stay away after her husband's death. Danny turns cold and controlling toward Amy, cutting her off from talking to anyone. Amy, meanwhile, starts doubting Danny himself, realizing she fled her old life for a man she barely knows anything about. When Danny snaps and yells that she'd already be dead without him, Amy sees a side of him she's never witnessed before and regrets her decision to run away with him. The three returning climbers arrive and report the GPS is set up and rescue should come by morning if luck holds. That night, the 7 survivors eat in tense silence, just hoping to make it to the next day. Everyone eventually turns in, except Carlos, who stays up practicing for his upcoming tournament. It's revealed this same obsession is why he stole the food earlier, to keep his diet intact for training. As Carlos finishes his workout, drenched in sweat, he turns to find a masked figure standing before him, wearing Carlos's own wrestling mask. Before he can react, the killer stabs him and kills him on the spot. The next morning, Carlos is missing. Jack suggests everyone split up to search, but Kevin objects, pointing out that with the GPS running, rescue should already be arriving. Neither of them knows the killer had secretly cut the device's main wire the night before, cutting off the signal entirely. The group searches the surrounding jungle, but finds no trace of Carlos. Kevin proposes heading back up to recheck the device, and Christy agrees to go with him. Nobody wants to risk going anywhere alone anymore. As they climb, they spot vultures circling in the distance, and immediately sense something is wrong. Changing course, they find Carlos's bloodied body dumped in the bushes, killed the night before. They rush back to camp with the grim news. Suspicion instantly falls on Danny and Amy, since they'd been sleeping closest to Carlos's tent. Danny desperately denies any involvement, questioning why he'd have any reason to kill Carlos. Everyone is left wondering the same thing. If one of them really is a calculated killer, what's the actual motive? Lisa then drops another bombshell. Someone secretly emptied her gun of all its bullets, leaving her with just one round that happened to be in her jacket pocket. This triggers Kevin to recall that while treating Danny's injury earlier, he'd spotted a large tattoo on his back, the kind typically worn by members of criminal gangs. That means Danny could be tied to organized crime, and Amy knows nothing about his past. It seems increasingly likely Danny is behind the murders. Danny defends himself, explaining the tattoo wasn't his choice. He'd been framed for a crime, sent to prison, and forced into the tattoo by gang members while inside. After his release, he tried to rebuild his life by taking a driving job at Amy's family home, where he genuinely fell in love with her. He insists he's no criminal and had nothing to do with the murders. As the argument rages on, evening falls and a violent storm rolls in. Everyone rushes back inside the plane wreckage for shelter, but once inside, the true motive behind the murders finally comes to light. The heavy rain causes part of the plane's ceiling to collapse, and strange bags fall out from above. When Jack tears down the rest of the paneling, he finds the ceiling packed with white packets, high-grade drugs being smuggled aboard the flight. Danny, drawing on his knowledge from his gang past, estimates the drugs are worth millions. This airline had been using ordinary passenger flights as cover for major drug trafficking, which explains why their tickets were so unusually cheap. It seems their secret operation was leaked somehow, prompting them to deliberately crash the plane in the jungle to cover their tracks. And now, someone among the survivors is killing the others off to claim keeping the enormous stash for themselves. Still, the group can't understand why the killer would need to murder every single passenger just to get the drugs. Before they can figure it out, Amy panics and bolts out into the jungle, fearing the killer will now murder them all over the drugs. Danny frantically chases after her. Kevin warns everyone against going out alone with a killer on the loose, but Lisa grabs her gun and heads out too, determined to find Amy. Amid the pouring rain and howling wind, visibility is almost zero. As Lisa searches with her gun raised, the killer strikes from behind, stabbing her in the back. With her dying breath, Lisa tries to rip off his mask to reveal his identity, but she dies before she can pull it free. The next morning, the group finds Lisa's body and is consumed with fury. Despite their best efforts, the killer keeps striking without leaving any real evidence behind. With 5 survivors left, suspicion swirls with no proof to point to anyone specific. Then Christy suddenly pulls her gun and aims it straight at Jack. She reveals she searched his bag earlier and found Lisa's missing bullets. Proof, she says, that Jack is the killer. She also found a satellite phone hidden in his bag, convincing her completely of his guilt. Jack denies being the killer, but admits to hiding the bullets, claiming he suspected Lisa might be the real culprit and removed them to protect everyone. He insists the satellite phone isn't his, suggesting the real killer planted it to frame him. Kevin urges them to stop arguing and use the satellite phone to call for help immediately, but Christy reveals she's already tried. The phone is locked behind a heavy password, and since everyone assumes it's Jack's, only he should know it. Jack keeps swearing the phone isn't his, and that he has no idea what the password could be. Furious, Danny lunges at Jack and starts beating him, but Kevin pulls him back, warning that if Jack dies, they lose any chance of ever unlocking the phone, and with it, their only hope of rescue. They're forced to keep Jack alive, no matter how much they suspect him. And with this chilling cliffhanger, the story ends, leaving the survivors trapped between a killer they can't identify and a phone that might be their only way out.